Okay, let me see here. Okay, why don't you rev it up a little bit? Alright. Okay, set her down. Sounds to me like it probably is the muffler belt. Probably need to get that replaced, okay? Alright, thanks. It sounds to me like it just might be the muffler belt. Now that is an absurd statement. And if you have no idea why that's so absurd, you better kind of nudge the person next to you. Maybe they can explain to you why it's so absurd. It's that kind of statement I believe Jesus is making in Matthew chapter 15, verses 12 through 20. Listen to the words of Jesus. Then the disciples came to him and said, "Do you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard this?" He replied, "Every plant that my heavenly Father has not planted will be pulled up by the roots. Leave them. They are blind guides. If a blind leads a blind man, both will fall into a pit." Peter said, "Explain the parable to us." "Are you still so dull?" Jesus asked him. "Don't you see that whatever enters the mouth goes into the stomach and then out of the body? But the things that come out of the mouth come from the heart, and these make a man unclean. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false testimony, slander. These are what make a man unclean. But eating with unwashed hands does not make him unclean." This passage is filled with expressions of absurdity. The disciples were confused by the words of Jesus and come to him and ask for an explanation. The Pharisees, we find out, were offended by the words of Jesus. But Jesus scratches his head with bewilderment at the Pharisees. These teachers, these educated, experienced men who were called to be the leaders. He can't believe that they think outward washings make a man clean without allowing God to touch their heart. He actually says to these Pharisees, at least an explanation to the disciples, that the reality is they're blind men who really can't help anyone, and there's great evidence that the Father is not at work in their hearts. You see, the Pharisees were focused upon external actions, and they totally ignored the heart. Jesus identifies this as a worthless endeavor, resulting in no real change, no opportunity for righteousness or godliness to really be seen and experienced in a person's life. Real change occurs in the heart and then expresses itself in our actions. As we prepare to close, I would like to ask one question. I'd like to encourage you to engage in one activity. The question is this: where are you, where am I engaged in the absurdity of trying to bring real change to our lives through outward actions without real heart change? You see, if we're doing that, we're engaged in hypocrisy. Worthless, grotesque worship that results in nothing of value. And if real change occurs first in the heart, will you take a few moments as you've identified those areas of absurdity and gather with a couple people around you and spend a few moments praying for those areas, praying for the heart in connection with those areas, so that the real change, the righteousness, and godliness can be seen. Let's engage in that activity now.